money that comes from the HNI wealth growth
Sir.
to the angel investment activity will be a small fraction.
Right, sir.
It is bound to be a tiny fraction. That's not just an Indian phenomenon. Elsewhere across the world also this has been the trend.
Yes, sir.
But having said that, something slightly different that seems to be happening in the Indian context is that some of these younger HNIs, especially those who had started a business and sold it off and so on, they seem to be a little more adventurous, and so they are allocating a larger fraction of their wealth or net worth to riskier avenues like angel investing.
Okay,
And
sir.
they seem to be doing that for strategic reasons, in the sense that by acquiring stakes in these companies, they also sort of want to be more gainfully engaged in mentoring these companies, advising or guiding these companies, and so on. So those are not passive investments. So which is why it's difficult to answer this question of whether the growth in angel investing is commensurate with the growth in HNI wealth.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, there is a fall in the interest rates on, say, bank FDs and even on other investment classes. The rates of return have fallen of late. But in
But
angel,
that's
yes, yes, sir.
but that's in the fixed income avenue, right?
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the economy, almost all asset classes have been delivering very, very high returns, whether it is commodities, whether it is stocks,
Yes.
and also one has to keep in mind that these categories of people are not confined to the Indian market alone.
Yes.
So a considerable part of Indian wealth is now getting deployed in the European markets and the US markets. If you look at the editorial in the Economic Times day before yesterday, it's encouraging even ordinary people like me to put their money to work outside India. So, there are two parts to this problem, like any economist would look at it.
Sir.
One is the supply side of capital is increasing because of growth in HNI wealth. But on the demand side for that capital is no longer confined to India. Indians are now investing globally across different asset classes. They are investing in stocks, they are investing in commodities, they are investing in real estate, they are investing in hedge funds. So the what we do not have good quality data on. There is some data, but not good quality data. But it's something to get started with. Is on where is the Indian high net worth money going out, and so RBI would have data on portfolio investments made by Indians, on overseas assets acquired by Indians. But I said it's not good quality data because quite a lot of that money is actually domiciled in overseas vehicles, as you might know as a banker.
Yes, sir.
So and these overseas asset acquisitions are all funded by these offshore vehicles on which the Reserve Bank does not have a good quality data. So all that I'm trying to say is that on the demand side for funds, on the supply side, there are estimates available. Kotak has this wealth report that it comes out with every year, which is a reasonably well quoted report on the wealth in the hands of HNIs, and a few others also. Carvi comes out with a similar report. So on the supply side, we have some estimate of how much money is being generated, how much wealth is being generated. But on the demand side, I think the picture is a little more complex. And so we have to look at whatever is happening in the angel space in the light of that backdrop.
Sir. Then, sir, as you said, the Indian HNI money is getting invested abroad also, and
Right.
uh, it is getting publicized also, inviting Indians to invest. However, sir, there was one round table in IM Bangalore conducted by you, sir, in 2019, So in
Yeah,
fact,
no, earlier than
yeah, sir. So yeah,
2016.
16 probably, yeah, sir. So in that I read that the uh, Indian Angels Network's investment abroad at that point of time amounted to around 4.1% of total investment only.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, that's the data we have.
uh,
But please keep in mind one general caveat I have for anyone who is trying to do research in this space, which is also one of the reasons I have not been particularly active or productive,
sir,
is that the data that we get is, see, here is the problem. So there are two types of researchers that I see in the Indian context.
yes,
I
sir.
mean, there could be many other types too, but there are those who are uh, who sort of manage with whatever data that they can lay their hands on. They use that and publish some findings. Then there are others who are very particular about the data that they use to carry out any research and publish findings. So the second category is particularly handicapped when
Yes,
it
sir.
comes to early stage investing. And this is not again an Indian problem. You know, one of the most well published people in this early stage investing space, he's probably the number one in the whole world, is a man in Harvard by the name Josh Lerner.
Yes, sir.
So he has written a lot of books. He's published extensively on early stage investing, different aspects of it. So he has recently moved into researching early stage investments
Sir.
and angel investments.
Yes.
And the latest working paper that I saw of is about a year and a half ago. That has so many challenges in it because of the non-availability of data. The point I'm trying to make to you is that when it comes to angel investing, keep in mind that what even in the roundtable, whatever I have published as a background paper, I know fully well that the data is highly incomplete because many individuals make angel investments that Indian Angel Network does not even know about. So just wanted to give that as a caveat to you
Okay,
since
sir.
you're embarking on research in that space. Now it's a choice we can all make as researchers. So one very legitimate approach is say, okay, we can't wait for the tide to recede to enter the brook to have a bath. So we work with whatever we have, and
Yes, sir.
over time, as data gets better, our conclusions will become more robust. The other thing is say, no, let's wait for the best data to come. We'll work on it, create the database, etc., etc. So you could make that choice, but currently, all that I wanted to say is data is a challenge in that space.
Yeah, data is a challenge, yes,
Sorry,
sir.
so you are going to say something else. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, sir. I fully agree with this thing, sir.
Yeah.
And one more observation I could make from your paper, sir, is that geographically also, if we see, the investment is there in southern part, northern part, and western part, mainly in Mumbai. Even Pune is not getting that much, and eastern part is, of course, very little. So,
Yes.
can this be a subject of research, sir?
It can be. It is certainly an important and interesting question.
Sir.
The point is, what is one going to ask? I mean, that's a broad, big question, right? Why is not money flowing as much into the eastern part of the country as it is in the north, west, and south? So that would lead one to many other questions, right?
Yes, sir.
So money flows wherever two conditions are met. So that is something that academics have established and practitioners will also agree. So those two conditions are one, you should have enough entrepreneurial action.
Yeah.
So that because that's what drives the need for capital.
Correct, sir.
The second is the policy environment should favor investment activity. Now, the policy environment in Bengal or East, Assam, Bengal, Northeast, wherever,
Yeah.
is the same as what you have elsewhere in the country. The company law is the same, SEBI's regulations are the same, angel alternate investment regulations of SEBI are the same. So the financial investment environment, regulatory environment is the same. So what is it that is probably different? The bit that is different is the regulations governing the formation and growth of enterprises.
Yes,
So, so one all that I'm saying is that it's an interesting question, but it might lead you on to a number of other avenues of inquiry, which may not relate to angel investing, right?
yes, sir.
So, if your interest is in angel investing or investment per se, early stage investment activity per se, then one has to be mindful of the fact that this line of inquiry could possibly lead one to something else. It
Other
might lead
areas.
you to an inquiry relating to entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
relating to industrial policy,
Hmm.
relating to labor conditions and industrial policy in the East, or relating to the question of lack of human capital in the Northeast.
Yeah.
Human capital of the kind that can lead to entrepreneurial activity or new enterprise formation.
Yeah.
So it might lead you on or lack of science and technology in the Northeast or lack of higher education. I mean, these are all, arguments that keep coming up
Yeah, sir.
whenever one looks at entrepreneurship. So, so please keep in mind that your line of inquiry might sort of proceed in that direction.
Yeah.
As long as that's fine, it's worth investigating, certainly.
Yeah. And then angel investing would not remain the main issue being explored.
Because although that is the main question that you're investigating, you might end up looking at the ancillary questions that lead to or that sort of give you an explanation for why angel investing is not active. I mean, broadly, I think people generally agree, and this is not just angel investing alone. Even early stage investing, Series A, Series B, pre-Series A,
Sir.
all of these uh, capital formation
Yeah.
or capital allocation, that's heavily concentrated in the West and the South.
Yes, sir.
And then to a certain extent, it happens in the North.
Yeah.
And only after that, and sorry, the distance or the gap between these three regions and the East is enormous.
Yeah.
And that's been a phenomenon for a long time. Earlier, I used to be in industry, and whenever we had these conferences on VC or early stage investing, this would be a common question: why is capital not flowing into the eastern part of the country?
Correct, sir.
And the answers would all be the same.
Yeah.
They come back to the same questions. Labor policy is not conducive. Human capital is not there. So critical mass is missing. But Calcutta was the origin of industrial activity in India under the British rule. Why did it lose its head start? So it keeps coming back to these same questions.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's the same phenomenon that is now getting reflected in the low volume of angel activity in Calcutta. So the interesting thing is that there is a difference between the percentage of angel capital allocated to the north vis-a-vis west and south versus the percentage of venture capital allocated to the north vis-a-vis west and south. In other words, the north seems to be attracting a lot more angel capital than it seems to be attracting venture capital, which is the latest stage in the evolution of an enterprise. So to my mind, that's an interesting question which will keep you focused on angel versus VC activity in a certain region.
Okay, sir.
If you look at the VC data, you'll find the same thing there. So VC is heavily concentrated west and south. The north gets a smaller share, and the east gets very less. If you take the percentage of angel capital, the north gets a larger percentage of angel capital than it gets venture capital. So somewhere there seems to be some sort of a gap in terms of enterprises growing in the north. So
Yes, sir.
enterprises raise angel capital, but they seem to be growing enough to raise venture capital. That's, to my mind, an interesting problem to look at too. There
Yeah,
are
sir.
lots
Yeah.
of interesting questions to ask, but it seems to be anyway.
Yeah, sir.
Yeah.
And that brings to mind the problem of exit, sir. In North, what is holding back the exits for the angel investor?
Right, right.
So, yeah, that will be very interesting.
Yeah, you're right. So that might explain the difference. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Because VC is the next round for the enterprise after
Right, right,
successfully completing the activities associated with angel investing. The next is venture
right,
funding. So
right.
that is not happening in north. Yeah, that is an interesting question, sir. Because
Right,
what is holding back exit route is not available, or what else? Or scaling up, people are not inclined to do.
right,
So
right.
those things can
Absolutely.
come to mind.
Uh,
Okay, sir. Sir, you just talked of regulation when we were talking of the East.
right.
So then, sir, regulation. Currently, the angel investment is regulated by SEBI under the Alternative Investment Fund Rules 2012. So, those regulations, sir, are those complete per se? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir.
What do you mean by complete?
Means regulation, can it be made more efficient to scale up the angel investment activity? Is there anything lacking in the regulations, sir?
See, the role of regulation is twofold,
Yeah.
as I understand. Uh, One is to support the development of a certain area or activity. The other is to truly regulate or control, uh, inefficient or unproductive activity. So, I mean, when you look at SEBI's mandate itself has both elements in it. It's supposed to, work towards the orderly development of the capital market and the protection of the investor on the one hand, and at the same time, it's supposed to make sure that whatever happens in the market is not harmful to the investor, which will then lead to the shrinking of the market. Those are the two broad mandates. When it comes to early stage investing,
Yeah.
the generally held philosophy so far has been that early stage investors, especially angels, venture capital investors, etc., these are all informed individuals. They are capable of arriving at informed decisions, and they don't need to be, so they're grown ups, they don't need to be protected, unlike teenagers or children.
Yes, sir.
So, to that extent, so far till the 2008 crisis, in the West, venture capital was largely unregulated.
Yeah.
There was absolutely no regulation. So by this, after 2008, there were certain developments that came to light around the 2008 crisis relating to the private markets, particularly in the UK and to a certain extent in the US, where the policy makers felt that we can't leave this space unregulated anymore completely. So we need to bring some amount of accountability, and they stopped at just gathering data.
Yeah.
So the regulations there allow them to collect data, but it doesn't regulate their activity in terms of where they invest, how much they invest, what forms, etc., etc.
Yeah.
In the Indian context, we have, for whatever reason, because as a country, we seem to have liked regulation always. Whether it's right or not, good or bad, I won't get into that question.
Hmm.
But we always seem to have liked regulation. When I was in the venture capital industry in 1988,
Yeah.
the first VC regulations were put out by the Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance. That time there was no SEBI.
Yes,
So
sir.
the venture capital regulations, I mean, we have started regulating the VC industry right from that time. But interestingly, that had very little impact on the industry because those regulations applied only to money domiciled in India.
Yeah.
It did not apply to money domiciled outside. Till about 5 or 8 years ago, 95% or 96% of the money coming into the Indian market was coming from outside the country. So, although there have been at least three different revisions of the venture fund regulations, including the now AIF regulations 2012,
Yeah.
none of them has had any appreciable effect on the industry's investment activity. Now, the 2012 regulations have approached this is that they've approached angel funds and alternate funds all in one category, alternate assets, all in one category,
Sir.
right? So to answer your question, are they complete? If you ask the people who are governed by this regulation, they would say, "Iski bhi zarurat kya hai?" Because we are all grown-ups, we know what we are doing, and we don't need to be protected or looked after. But having said that, SEBI feels the need for it because probably it felt that it was not even getting data. So beyond that, I don't think SEBI has any larger goal in wanting to regulate what their industry does. But having said that, you can't simply put a set of regulations in place saying, keep feeding us quarterly data or annual data on what you're doing. So they put some other elements also into that regulation, saying you can be a type 1, type 2, type 3 alternate investment fund.
Yes, sir.
And you can't approach. So basically, they didn't want these alternate investment funds to become another mutual fund where they go to people who are, people with lower income or net worth and take their money and invest it in risky avenues. So that's the main purpose of these regulations. Does it serve that purpose? I think it does. Now, beyond that, if you want to control what investments they make, how much they invest, in what sectors they make, then I think it would be overbearing on the industry.
Yes, sir.
We must also keep in mind that it's still a very, very tiny industry in comparison to the mutual fund industry.
Yes, sir.
So, and the mutual fund industry affects everybody in the stream. Everybody who can start even a 100 rupee SIP is part of the mutual fund industry.
Correct.
So there is a need to protect those investors. But as long as you say people who can't write a check for more than a lakh of rupees cannot be invested in these funds, you have made sure that the common man is not affected by what the AIF does. So there may be some excesses there, some good investments may be made, some not so good investments may be made. It's okay.
Yes, sir. Sir, you just spoke of the sector where one can invest or where investor can invest. Okay. So that brings me to another problem here, sir. What we see in angel investment, mostly the bulk of it is going to online services, IT sector, but the sector which generates the maximum employment, that is manufacturing or development of the cutting edge technologies. So in those sectors, the angel investment is not going. So can that again be a question, sir? Is there is a need to do some actions which can direct the angel investment to these manufacturing and cutting edge technologies, sir?
Sure. Yeah, it is. It's again been for a long time. People have been, people have been worried about that aspect. That all of the money is going into a limited number of sectors. And for the economy, they are not necessarily the most important things, and probably capital is not going to the most productive use. But if you try to mandate to the angel investors, कि आप manufacturing में capital डालो, they wouldn't do it. They would avoid it. So I think, but it's a question worth asking. Why is it that investors are not investing in that?
No, sir. The direction cannot lead to more investment, but facilitating environment can do. So on the facilitation side, is any action needed? That can be a valid question, sir, for research purpose.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So this I was just looking at the data, so I could find that angel investment is not going to these sectors.
That's true. Very true.
So that can again be a valid question to look into, sir.
Yes.
And rate of exits already, sir. About North, we have spoken that the venture capital investment is not commensurate to the angel investment. So the rate of exit is low apparently. So that is again a question, sir.
Right. It is.
Yes, sir. And alternative investment fund we have already spoken, sir. SEBI's rules.
Right.
And one more, sir, one more sector of the population, I would say, women are missing from the angel investment on both sides, the supply side, that is
Right.
investor, as well as the demand side, that is entrepreneur. So,
Right.
what is your view, sir? Should we take some policy action or some other action to move in that direction, sir?
See, this is a very divisive question.
Yes,
I mean, divisive issue, not question, divisive issue.
yes, sir.
It's divisive because, there are people who believe with very, very strong arguments
Hmm.
that one should not bring gender into everything.
Oh, yes, sir. That
Uh,
is there.
right? I mean, and this is a view held by many successful women entrepreneurs themselves. So I don't know whether you heard of a lady called Meena Ganesh.
Yeah, I have heard, sir.
She's the Bluestone and Portia. So she is the wife of Mr. K. Ganesh and not Natra, K. Ganesh, Ganesh
Okay.
Swami.
Yes, sir.
So he's the man who first started. I mean, before he started and sold Tuta Vista. Prior to that, he had this outsourcing company called First Source, which he sold to ICICI. So
Yes,
a
sir.
very successful serial entrepreneur. Now
Hmm.
they are running Portia. So
Okay.
Meena Ganesh is a very successful woman entrepreneur in her own right.
Yeah.
So when I was in NSR cell in IMP, I was managing NSR cell. I would we would do a lot of drum beating for women entrepreneurship. So on one of those occasions, I had requested Meena Ganesh to speak,
Hmm.
and it turned out to be really embarrassing
Hmm.
because she came to a forum which was all about promoting women entrepreneurship
Hmm.
and doing things to support women entrepreneurship, etc., etc. And she started saying, "See, this whole question is irrelevant."
Okay.
She says there are entrepreneurs. That's it.
Hmm.
There is nothing like male entrepreneurship
Male
and
or
female
female? Yes, sir.
entrepreneurship. Yeah, there is entrepreneurship. There is successful entrepreneurship. There is not so successful entrepreneurship. There are capable entrepreneurs. There are not so capable entrepreneurs. And because it was coming from a woman
Yeah.
herself, people kept quiet.
Yeah. It-
Agar
yes,
if
sir.
a man had said those same things,
Ah.
they would have said he's being chauvinistic, he's being gender insensitive, falana, they would have been a hue and cry.
Ah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is so should there be a special dispensation for women entrepreneurs or not?
Hmm.
To my mind, there are people on both sides of the camp, on either side of the camp.
Hmm.
So but having said that, in my own ways, whenever I was involved in non-academic activities here, I supported women entrepreneurship. Even now, there is a Goldman Sachs program where I'm mentoring a group of some 30 women entrepreneurs on how to grow their enterprise and so on. So I'm involved in that. I'm sympathetic to that cause.
Hmm.
But should there be a special dispensation for them? I don't know. What I think is required is more a facilitative action. So, for instance, we bring together, even in an academic sense, it is not even very clear whether they suffer any special handicaps.
Yeah.
There are certain handicaps because of the social structure that we have in our country and the role that the woman is supposed to play.
Yes, sir.
So, if there are children in the family, the wife quits the job and the husband doesn't quit the job.
Hmm.
So that is still a common practice. So and so women necessarily make some sacrifices for the sake of the family. They put their career as a second priority. But beyond that, do women suffer any other special? So there's a nice book written by I forget the name. The guy was an advisor to Mr. Ratan Tata. It's
Sir.
called Startup Nation or something. Startup Nation or Startup Capital. So it's a book on startups in India. So there he has interviewed a woman entrepreneur who says when she goes to raise capital, venture capitalists look at her differently.
Hmm.
I mean, she's basically suggesting that they all look at her as a sex object.
Yes, sir.
But because she is good looking or whatever. So, but that is not a widely shared concern. So coming back to your question, does it require a special policy dispensation? The politically right answer is yes. practically speaking, is there a need for it? If there's a need for it, first of all, one has to say what are the ways in which women are suffering a handicap. There is
Yes,
no
sir.
clear data or evidence on that. Do they find it more difficult to raise money? Do they have a higher failure rate of enterprises? Do they have greater challenges in scaling enterprises, etc., etc.? So then people say, no, but if all those things were not there, why is it that we don't have more women entrepreneurs? Why is it that we don't have more women-founded unicorns? Why is it that we don't have more women angel investors? Why is it that we don't have more women VCs? My response is it'll take time.
Yes, sir.
I mean, this is from another world. I was heading admissions here for a few years. So we've always worried about why is it that we don't get more women students in our classes.
Yes,
Now,
sir.
10 years ago, that number was very small. When I was a student here, we had 2 women students in a class of 120.
Yes, sir.
Today, the number is as high as 40%.
Correct.
35 to 40%.
Yeah, that is
So
the
some of
general
these,
ratio, sir. Everywhere
now
across.
this is a social change.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. Entrepreneurship itself, we are worshipping entrepreneurship or successful entrepreneurship only in the last 10, 15 years. After Infosys became successful, after Mastech became successful, we started admiring and worshipping entrepreneurship. उसके पहले तो we looked down upon businessmen.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely.
Businessmen में सब लोग चोर थे.
Yeah.
अचानक
That was the
you know,
notion, yeah.
they all become national heroes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that is a social change that is taken as 50 years after independence. So for a new class of entrepreneurs like women to enter the mainstream and become successful, it will take another 15, 20 years. So if you know what the problems are that women are facing, those can be addressed.
Yeah.
But if there are no specific problems that we have identified, how do we solve them? So anyway, I don't know. I know I'm meandering and belaboring some issues.
Yeah, yeah.
But so whenever this question comes up, I find it difficult to answer because I don't know what problems women are facing. So if
Yeah.
you take backward communities in India, we know what the problems are. They don't have access to education. They face social prejudices. We can address them effectively.
Yes, sir.
But what are the problems women are facing? Nobody seems to know.
Yeah.
But people saying women entrepreneurs are disadvantaged.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us the three most important problems they are facing? Then the answers are not there.
Yes.
They also go to college, they go to IITs, they come to IIMs. Yet why are women not becoming entrepreneurs? You don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, one more, sir, aspect can be there. Like, say, in some states, the societies are matrilineal. Like, say, Meghalaya. I have been posted in Northeast, sir. So, where the societies are matrilineal, that means the economic activity is done by women folk in the household, and otherwise also the devolution of wealth is from mother to daughter only. So can we examine that why in those societies it is not going up, sir? Is it right thing? No.
It's possible. So it's an interesting line of thinking because I come from Kerala, which is a
Yeah.
matriarchal society.
Yeah.
Kerala is not just matrilineal; it's matriarchal.
Ah.
So, but you don't find great women entrepreneurs coming out of Kerala.
Yeah.
So, in fact, there the situation is so bad that the men practically contribute very little to the GDP of the state.
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
I mean, on a lighter vein, वो घर में बैठ के दारू पीते
Yeah,
हैं.
yeah. The same is said, sir. Meghalaya also
काम नहीं
same.
करते हैं.
जी.
हाँ,
हाँ.
तो सारा घर का economic activity is taken care of by the
Women folk. Yeah.
वहाँ. So if women, that is a necessary condition, then Kerala should be teeming with women entrepreneurs, which it does. But most of the entrepreneurship there, whether it is coir weaving or beady rolling or whatever, it is all done by in a micro enterprise level. So almost every house, not every house, a large number of houses in Kerala are entrepreneurial household where the woman is doing something to feed the family.
Yeah.
But organized, for-profit entrepreneurship of the kind that we like to celebrate, that is not happening in Kerala,
Yes,
in a
sir.
matriarchal society. So I think my own sense is that it is a question of time. And as long as we play a nurturing role, as long as we play a supporting role, give them mentoring. So which is what I used to do in NSR cell. We used to subsidize the program. I said all of that is not necessary. What they need is a set of mentors because they are still new to entrepreneurship. Unlike men who are more used to entrepreneurship, and men have networks, social networks.
Yes,
So
sir.
if you want to know the VP of Airtel who is a potential customer, you'll find somebody who is a drinking buddy or social club member or whatever. They'll say, I know that guy, I'll give you an intro. Women don't have that network. Second, women don't have good mentors. If you make that, that was my limited idea. I'm not saying it's a silver bullet for all problems relating to women entrepreneurship. That seemed to work well. We've had a reasonably good success rate with women entrepreneurs in SRSL. We have produced lots of good women entrepreneurs. And they have not had any special policy, subsidies or anything. All that they have had is good mentorship. People who can tell them how to write a good business plan. People who can tell them how to go to market. People who can tell them how to scale successfully.
Yes,
and
sir.
people who tell them how to raise money well. That's it. 4 things. And we have lots of good women entrepreneurs. Very smart women who went to an engineering college or went to a good arts college and who come from ordinary families who done well.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
So that brings us to one more question, sir. There is.
I have to close in about 3 minutes.
Sure, sir. Sure. We will close. We will close, sir. We will close. So that brings to one more point. This discussion in the last 4-5 minutes we did that there is more work needed to be done on the entrepreneur side of the equation.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. That's where we were focused on in SRCL. We said rather than supporting entrepreneurs, we said let's create them.
Yes, sir. So I will wind up now, sir. I will just say that 3-4 major issues I could sense from very kind discussion with you, sir. One is in the north we came to this key the venture capital investment is not in relation to the angel investment. That is one thing, sir. And then, sir, about women we just discussed ki entrepreneur side actions needed, those may be explored, sir. And then flow of angel investment to manufacturing and cutting edge technology, that also can be explored, sir. So I will just go through these, sir, and try to crystallize my research problem.
Sure.
And close for today. If required, sir, kindly give me half an hour some other day also after about a week
no
or so.
issues, whenever you need. Look, I can't claim to know a lot.
No, but it is a.
For the sake of, but I really think I don't know a lot. But I'm happy to sort of share with you whatever I know.
Sir, it is a great learning for me. Thanks. And sir, if you have any program or conference or lecture or anything in IIM Bangalore on this subject, na, angel investment or even venture capital, please let me know, sir. I will come over and join. Sure, sir.
So you're working on your PhD there at BHU, is that?
Yeah, sir. There is Institute of Management Studies, earlier called Faculty of Management Studies. So I have enrolled there for PhD under Professor Himendu Prakash Mathur, who is currently the Dean and the head of the department also.
So he's your PhD guide?
Yeah, sir, yeah.
Oh, okay. And do you plan to become a teacher after this, or what's your...
On freelancing basis, sir. I have already served my innings, so not full-time. I don't seek a full-time activity there. But yeah, freelancing I will do, sir. Even currently I am doing some lectures here or there. So freelancing I will do, sir. With your blessings and yeah.
No, please don't. I'm just an ordinary person. Anyway, all the best. I admire your spirit.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
I hope you continue with it.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, sir. Thank you. Please bless me
Likewise,
always.
likewise,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
likewise,
Good day. Good day.
likewise. Bye, bye.
हो गया बढ़िया अच्छा नॉलेजेबल आदमी अरे राम